Hello and welcome to the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by a silently dancing Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
Jaunty, very jaunty.
Oh, dear. We just had an incredible conversation with Euphonium player from the President's Own Marine Band, Hiram Diaz. He is one of the more interesting guests that we have had on this here program. He's
a
awesome.
lot of fun. Yeah, I haven't talked to him since he was 17, I think.
and he's not 17
and he's
anymore.
Not 17 anymore. Yeah.
Yep, and I see him with some frequency here in DC. But yeah, he's an incredible musician, an incredible person, and well, you'll hear all about it. And also, the bonus episode with Hiram was legendary. It was
pretty epic one,
almost a half an hour long. So yeah, that was.
And he was there for some of it.
Yeah, he was there for some of it. So yeah, it actually featured some the bonus episodes when we talked about the punk yelly that he just did on the Capitol steps, and but then he also started telling a story and disappeared, and then Lance did an impersonation of Hiram, saying really nice things about Lance and I. It was good. So we want to thank everyone who has gone to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies and who has supported the podcast. We now have just over 100 Patreon patrons, which is incredible. Every guest sticks around and does a bonus episode, which is anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes if it's Hiram, which is airs the week after each interview. And for as little as $1 per episode, you can get instant access to the entire back catalog of all of that. And so go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn more. And also wanted to thank everybody who has left a rating and a review anywhere, iTunes and the app that you listen to the Brass Junkies. That's really appreciated to help other people to find the podcast. So for once, we remembered to do the ads during the interview. So we actually don't have anything else to read right now, Lance. That is literally once in a row. Is there anything that I'm forgetting?
Negative. Enjoy
this wonderful conversation that we had with Euphonium of the Marine Band, Hiram Diaz. And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by a very important euphonium player.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate. I'm on all the shows, though.
We are. We're not only joined by our host Lance, who used to be an important euphonium player.
Fair.
We're also on the line with an actual, a current important euphonium player, that is from the President's Own Marine Band, as opposed to the other Marine bands that are not the President's Own. Hiram Diaz. Hiram, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Really good.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now's your opportunity. Now's your opportunity to tell Lance that he's still important, and blah blah blah.
No one would believe that. Not even me.
Look, I have to tell you that Lance is probably one of the first people to come out with an off the beat album that I actually listened to.
Thank you very much.
For a long time, man. When I was a kid, when that album came out, I listened to it a lot because you had a lot of control over those Irish jigs. Like, man, this is crazy. How do you even do that?
He's always been very controlling.
I even tried to find those charts.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've got them. I can't play them anymore, but I'll send it to you. You can probably play them.
Yeah, what year did that album come out, Lance?
Back in the 40s sometime.
40s, yeah. I don't know, 99, 2000, something like that.
Like I said, he used to be an important euphonium player.
Yeah.
You're making my point.
I still own a euphonium.
Yeah, he does. He does. And you both dabble in a little trombone.
Yeah, quite a bit these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hiram actually sounds really good on the trombone. He doesn't think he does, which is actually endearing because he's always. We play Christmas Eve and Easter together here in DC, and pretty much every phrase that he ever plays, he kind of stops and he looks over like, "Was that okay?" I'm like, "You sound great, man. You sound great."
It's like every other phrase these days, man. I'm really working hard.
Okay.
On my self-confidence.
There's nothing like a Christmas Eve service that's just filled with self-doubt to your right, you know? It's like
That's right. That's right.
And then Joe Bergstaller's been on that, although he just got the gig at Arizona State, so he's of course headed to Phoenix. So that is, and in fact, I'm now the contractor for that gig. So Hiram has to be nice to me now. So
that's right.
I could just cut him right out.
I'll buy you the coffee beforehand.
There you go. That'll work.
Is that how you ingratiate yourself?
Bribe.
How do you do this?
Bribes of some kind.
This gigging game.
Lance, how do you bribe contractors?
I don't do gigs anymore. It's much easier.
That's why I asked.
It's easy.
If you ask Lance to find a matching pair of dress socks, he kind of snarls at you.
Oh no, I don't. No. In fact, the music pastor at my church asked me to put together a quintet, and I pawned it off on my son. Who's
nice,
17, and he came through. So it was him and me, and actually it was him and me, Craig Knox, and Craig's kid, and then this other hotshot trumpet player from the high school. So there you go.
See, when you can pawn things off on your kid when he comes in with you and Craig Knox, then then things are okay. So
yeah, so I just send him straight to him now.
Does he get the contractor fee?
Yeah, he makes as much as I do at my own church.
Geez, boy, that's not very entrepreneurial of you, Lance.
He's got to learn.
I mean, Hiram has volunteered to work for free on Christmas Eve and Easter moving forward, but
yeah, that's crazy.
Hiram who?
I must have blacked out.
It was in one of his moments of crippling self-doubt on the trombone that he offered that. I think he just felt like he needed to. No, all joking aside, you sound amazing on the trombone. That sounds like your main instrument. It sounds great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Not you, Lance.
Oh gosh, I keep getting sorry. My bad.
So, Hiram, how long you been in the Marine Band?
Since February of 2012.
Really?
Yeah, it's been quite a while and a very fun ride. Lots of different stuff.
Well, we'll get back to that. Why don't you talk about when you and Lance met, because you guys started getting into it. And then I really just want the quote from your mother. But anyway, we'll get there.
Back summer of 2002, my teacher, Jay Bertollet, when I was in high school, recommended that I do the ITEC competition first. Then I went to Brevard for their music center there during the summer. And then we drove up from Brevard up to Michigan for Falcone. The summer session at Brevard ended just before Falcone. And Lance was actually the guest artist then back in 2002. This is the summer between my junior and senior year of high school. And Lance played a show, and my parents had driven up with me, and my mom was like, "He's like the Victor Borga of the Euphonium."
that was the quote that I wanted.
And I was like, who in the fuck is Victor Borga?
That's pretty good.
I know who he is now. All right, so
yeah,
or who he was.
Right.
Yeah. He's still dead. It's okay.
He is still dead.
That's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah. I have no recollection of playing at that. I remember judging a bunch of them, but the fact that you said that you saw me play is a funny thing to me, because I couldn't tell you with 100 chances what I played.
Do you remember what you played, Hiram?
Can't either. I doubt if you.
No.
But I can tell you, I cracked some jokes.
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder if I would have been ukulele.
You probably flipped your music over. You know,
the
Victor
old,
Borga style.
The old
Victor Borga
standby.
style, yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Was the guy that used to read? Was he the guy that read and then did the sound effects for the commas and periods? And first time I saw that, I was crying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was fun. You would
really good.
You would think that that would get old pretty quickly. I mean, it's like a funny concept, but like if I remember correctly, it went on for a few minutes and it crescendos the whole time. I mean, like in terms of laughter, it's just that's a good sign, because someone like us, I occasionally stumble on something funny and then I just drive it into the ground. And he took that joke to the mountaintop, man. That was that left a mark.
He was pretty hilarious. Yep. There you go.
I think
that was it.
All right, I think that's it. Well, good.
That was the story.
So
what? So how old were you?
I remember listening to you. I remember judging you, and I remember you were very nattily dressed in a suit. Everybody else was sort of just in like a dress shirt. You
can blame that on my father.
I remember talking. I remember having long conversation with your father.
Oh.
He was very proud of Hiram. Probably still is, I would guess.
Yeah, things are good. Things are good between us. He was very excited to have. He took me to iTech, my first iTech in Greensboro that summer. That same summer was the Greensboro iTech, where I saw you perform, Andy, the first time with Boston.
Right. Yep.
And it was really funny. That iTech conference, we ate at Hooters 5 times. I don't think I've been to Hooters since, but
how many times can you eat wings in like 3 days?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Live to tell the tale.
It was very different from South Florida Hooters. That's all I can say about that. It's just a really completely different experience. It must have been the novelty of it.
It must have been.
So he took me to that iTech and dropped me off at Brevard. We were just all over the eastern United States that whole summer with lots and lots of euphoniuming.
Wow.
Back in the day.
That I'm still laughing at. Totally different than the South Florida Hooters.
Yes.
Yeah, we've never done any deep dives on Hooters. I've also been in that restaurant once. But that Greensboro iTech, there was one night where the hang got went so sideways with this was in Sam Palafian's hotel room along with Pat Sheridan and John Sass, and I think Matt Trotman was there. Lance may or may not have been there that night. And anyway, it went so sideways that they I think it was Pat said we need to document this, and so Sam wrote out what was called the captain's log. And there's running bullet points of like a 2-hour stretch, which are still up on the wall in Pat Sheridan's office. So,
nice.
Yep, it has survived 17 years now. The captain's log is, that was a good time. I
was a kid. I don't think I would have been there.
No, we definitely did not invite you to that hang. So, and I apologize to whoever we weren't listening to play some Philip Spark piece with some band or something. but yeah, we were just hanging out at the at the Holiday Inn instead. So
nice.
Sometimes that's the important stuff that happens at conferences. So
that's right. I met you at that conference, Andrew.
That is the first time that we met. Yep, you're right.
Like, who are the guys in purple?
Yep.
And they said, that's the Boston Brass.
Yep. I remember meeting you in the hallway, and it was kind of like, oh, this guy seems like a jackass, but he seems like my brand of jackass.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. It was kind of like we were sizing each other up, and then like, all right. Yeah, all right. Whatever.
A new dog came into the dog park. Sniffing and recognition of, oh, okay. Yeah, that'll work.
I've heard of this guy. I can't let on to that, but I've heard of him. Yeah.
He's like the Victor Borger of Euphonium.
Yeah. I heard it from this guy's mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I forgot for the captain's log, your mom was there, Hiram, but you were not. So yeah. Oh wow. Moving right along. So,
poor mother.
So, how old were you when you got into the? You were not 30 yet then when you got into the Marine Band.
No, that would have been 2012. I'm not very good at math, so 26, 25, 26.
And what were you doing when you got in there?
I was actually in the Army bands, the regular Army band system.
Right. Which band were you in?
I was at the band at Fort Benning, and I served in the United States Army for 1 year, 5 months, and 27 days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But then I got out pretty quick to get to the Marine Band.
So you didn't get the bonus of like no basic training by going to the Marine Band.
Oh, I went through basic.
Yeah.
You did it wrong, dude.
Yeah, you did.
Totally did it wrong.
You did do it wrong.
Correct.
So where did you do basic training? I always love hearing basic training stories because it
Fort
turns
Sill.
out you don't have to do that when you're in a brass quintet.
Oh, really?
Well, just the entire time is emotional warfare, but you don't have to actually do basic training.
I was at Fort Sill, where you learn to kill, as it were.
Where is Fort Sill?
In Lawton, Oklahoma.
Okay.
You know where that's at?
I have been to Lawton, believe it or not.
Okay,
I've
right.
played a gig there. Yeah.
There you go. You just like point your car straight north of Dallas until you get to the middle of nowhere, and that's Lawton.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I believe it was Lawton where this was right before I joined Boston Brass, like the year, I think it was 1999. It was right before I started playing with them when Rich Kelly, the former lead trumpet player, went into the bathroom at a McDonald's in Lawton, and then he suddenly there were like 4 police officers with guns drawn. So there were 5 people in the bathroom, and 4 of them had weapons pointed at Rich. And yeah, Rich was trying to do something else in there, and it turned out that there was a guy who had committed some violent crime and who was last seen like walking towards McDonald's, and he fit Rich's description, we will say, and as superficial as that description may have been, African American male, they probably don't even bother with a height or weight or anything else. And eventually, Rich convinced them that he was just a trumpet player from Boston who was there to wear a purple coat and had not shot anyone. So yeah, so there's my Lawton story. But so you shot at things in Lawton?
Yes. I'm a terrible shot. I barely qualified to get out of basic training, and it was an okay time. I don't really remember too much about it. I mean, it's basic training. I remember spiders yelling at little kids.
Why were spiders yelling at little kids?
Those aren't like the spiders they have in South Florida.
And waking all out. No.
What? So talk to us about your Marine Band audition. I like to ask this of people every once in a while just because I think it's interesting for those of us who haven't been through that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. We when we were living at Fort Benning, we actually lived on post, and it was pretty cool in the way that I could just go to work and practice for hours on end after work let out. So in the evenings, I could be at work in like 4 or 5 minutes, and practice all night. So I just did a lot of recording myself to and fro. I just did so much recording back and forth, and most of my practice sessions were just half recording, half playing, lots of that kind of stuff that is commonly recommended. And since it was the exact same list from 2004, I had a lot of familiarity with it. And I just, my wife was pregnant with our second kid at that time, and got to DC. I stayed with Chris Buckley. You guys know Chris Buckley?
Sure do.
Chris and Leah Buckley. I stayed with them for the audition, and there was a first round. I think about 70 people showed up. The first round happened, and then the second day was the second round. There were only 2 rounds. They had advanced 6 people, and I had an out-of-body experience for the sight reading, and I just kind of went for it and nailed it. And it was a good experience. I could recognize a lot of people on the panel on the second day. It was just a very comfortable experience. I will say that. I wasn't nervous. I don't get it. I ran a bunch the second day in the morning. I must have run like 6 or 7 miles on the treadmill just to get all the nerves out. I don't know. It was crazy. It was crazy. I just like, I'm going to keep going. This is back when I was in the Army. Running 5 or 6 miles was no big deal.
Running from spiders.
Yeah, spiders. Yeah, exactly. And it just went well. Things just kind of clicked. And there you go. Auditions. I haven't taken one since. So I'm not much of an audition expert. There's so many people who've taken hundreds of, or like dozens and dozens of auditions.
Yeah.
And I took a bunch to get to the Marine band. I took, maybe 10 or 15 of the other military bands, and I did okay sometimes. This one finally clicked. Maybe it was having kids. Maybe it was like, I don't want to move my family around from station to station. Maybe it was the familiarity of the excerpts, all the people, recognizing them, the situation. It was very comfortable.
So I'm guessing that you were, you're the type of person that won't agree with this, but I'm going to guess that for most of those previous auditions that you were absolutely good enough to win them and to have excelled at the job, and then that things kind of fell into place? Or was it that you had finally improved to the point where you could play like you did?
I will say, when I was 18, I advanced at the Marine Band audition into the semis,
Okay.
the one the job that Ryan McGeorge has.
Mm-hmm.
And then I advanced to like the Coast Guard band after that, and I never advanced at the Navy band. Advanced at the Army band. Advanced at the Army Field Band. When Lance LaDuke was talking about how I was chubby back then, he was right. So
That was before we hit record. Yeah, he's like, hey,
Right,
it's Skinny Hiram. Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, you look different.
You look almost healthy.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I remember seeing you was 17 years ago. So
Yeah, there you go.
wow.
And so, I mean, all those things, I would have to say I definitely played like an ass for a lot of that stuff. And
What do you mean by that?
let me qualify that. It's like, I know what's right, blah, 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 and I think people get in that mentality sometimes. I'm certainly one of those people who sometimes is like, well, I'm just going to do what I do, especially in the audition room. But I think I want to say it took Dr. Bowman basically telling me not to play like an ass in so many words. Well, I don't think he ever cursed at me.
No.
It was just constantly saying, no. That's my best. That's my best Dr. Bowman.
That's not appropriate.
No. Right. There you go.
It's much easier to tame a wild horse than to enliven a wooden one.
Well, okay. There you go. There you go. Exactly. Well, perfect. And period.
Well said, Dr. Bowman.
Full stop. Thank you. Now let's get some ice cream.
No, my lessons with Dr. Bowman were just fantastic about just really honing in exactly what people were looking for. So I'd have to say that. And I've had dozens of great lessons over the years from several different teachers that all said lots of really great things. And Dr. Bowman was kind of the guy who pointed all that great stuff at excerpts. Like, for example, Tim Northcutt, my undergrad teacher, he was a lot more loose in his lessons. So it's just like, bring in what you want. And that helped me to bring in all sorts of different etudes. So I would bring in clarinet books and cello books and he encouraged me to play for the cello professor and the vocal professor. And so he was great at encouraging me to absorb. And my high school teacher, Jay Bertollet, was just taught me how to play the euphonium, period. Let's just get that over with. And I didn't know my own fingers from, okay, I won't say, anyway. Yeah. So Jay he taught me how to play the euphonium. Tim taught me to absorb lots of different stuff. Dr. Bowman taught me to play excerpts well, play things well, appropriate, how to hone things, how to, play your part, play your role in these military band auditions.
So I don't know how many people know about the post band system. We talk a lot to premier band folks.
Oh.
So what was that audition process like, and what was that gig like?
It changes very frequently because the leadership up there changes frequently as well. Like deciding what is going to be on an audition or what is not going to be on an audition. Like for years and years and years, it was that 4.0 system that you would contact a band liaison, I believe they call it these days, and the band liaison would come to you and you would play for this band liaison. You'd sight read a little, but you'd have a prepared solo and maybe not very many excerpts, lots of scales, and they would give you a ranking, give you a grade, and then the band liaisons would all jockey for who is getting into the band system at a certain point. And they also by need, they're need-based hirings. So if they need 10% more trumpets, or they need 3 euphoniums over here, or so on and so forth, that's the Army band field. And that was really great, because at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, I'll tell the audience as well. Molly and I had gotten pregnant, and this was the second year of my master's, and I was like, what am I going to do for money? And I didn't want to stop playing euphonium, and my premier band friends were like, hey man, this Army band system is a pretty sweet deal for somebody who, for an infant who needs a job and who's a euphonium player, because dude, you kind of put yourself into a niche. So exactly. And so you take that audition. It's pretty straightforward. They give you a ranking. Now the rankings for the Army bands, it's different now. The Marine bands have a system. The Navy bands have a system. The Air Force bands, they're still per base. I believe they still have auditions per location. So if their bass trombone player retires at Langley, then they're going to replace the bass trombone player at Langley with an audition at Langley. I believe that's correct. And then the Army, they all have different. The Army band does that process, just the band liaisons all around the country. So each one has different pay grades, different incentives, different duty stations, different whatever you want out of your military career. They all offer different things. And it's a pretty valuable system that exists out there for people like myself.
And go ahead.
People who are educated on something very unique and are trying to get to a certain place, but maybe the timing doesn't work out. And maybe you get pushed into other different avenues, which is what happened with me when I had my Army band experience. I did a whole lot of trombone playing and singing in the Army band. A lot, which was fun. It was really cool.
And was the singing and trombone playing, was that part of the audition process? This came later? Or how did that all work? Like, was that part of the deal? You just knew you were going to end up doubling on whatever they need you to double on?
They're doing a pretty good job saying we encourage those kind of auditions. Like if you have peripheral skills, like audio work, or you're a bass player who's pretty good at maybe playing rock band keys, or you can play drum set, but you're also pretty good at lead singing. They're letting people know they're looking for people with those kinds of talents these days. But for me, when I auditioned, I just auditioned on euphonium only. And when I got to the School of Music, which is in Little Creek in Norfolk, Virginia, when I was there, you could get higher points on your audition stuff if you could do extra stuff. So I played trombone and I sang, and they had just changed the rubric from this 4.0 system to this 40-point system, and I maxed it out to I was the first guy to max out their new rubric.
That's cool.
So that was fun.
You broke the rubric.
Yeah, first try.
You broke the rubric, bro.
Humble brag.
So I'm going to take a moment here, not that this humble brag should ever stop, but I wanted to let you know that in Pittsburgh there's a school called Duquesne University.
Oh, yeah.
And at that school is the Mary Papert School of Music. And the Mary Papert School of Music is I don't know about proud. They are a regular sponsor of our show, a long-standing sponsor, pride notwithstanding.
Proud is our word, not theirs.
Fair. So if you're interested in finding out about the brass area at Duquesne, who you could study with, what groups you might be able to play with, all of the opportunities there, click on the link in the show notes below. And a very, 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 very special thanks to Jim Wackadoodle Nova for making it possible. I'm getting tired of coming up with new ones. So Wackadoodle was a good one.
Jim breaks all the rubrics.
You should just print out a list words like that you can put between his name.
Wackadoodle,
Jim's.
that's pretty.
Yeah, Wackadoodle is pretty good.
Not
That's a
bad.
good one.
What
That's a good
would
one.
you go with, Hiram?
Lilliput.
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 Lilliput. Okay. Is that an actual word?
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
That's like my kid who's now singing songs, and he's got a good ear. He's got great time. But he always, his lyrics always rhyme, but that's because like half of his lines end with words that either make no sense or have never been uttered before. So, but he is really good at rhyming as long as he's not constrained to existing words. Yes. He's so talented.
There's a long-standing history of that. You can't forget the great Ella Fitzgerald and scat singing. Okay, so just
see that.
Okay,
I for the record, it was Hiram who just compared my kid to Ella, not me.
I'm just saying.
He is remarkable in it. You know who is remarkable at coming up with song lyrics is Chris Castellanos. Lance will remember this. We would go to karaoke bars in various Asian countries, and Chris would get up on that mic, and that boy can he can make up lyrics to famous songs that always have the right number of syllables. It's like he's a Jedi at that, and that is like true at midnight or at 5 a.m. Like he's really. I can't ever remember him like even needing to throw one melisma in to make it the right number of syllables. It's like he's got a gift. I don't know how you monetize that, but he's got a gift.
What is that? I'm writing it in the show notes. Chris Castellanos karaoke parody Jedi mastery. How about that?
Nice.
Yes, for anyone who's listening to the show for the first time, just because you're a huge Hiram fan, as we all are, then Lance's show notes are not to be missed because they're show notes / Easter eggs. So sometimes it can be fun.
Okay, here's one: Fort Sill, where you learn to kill.
There you go.
Spiders yelling at little kids.
Did you see? Now we do not curse in the show notes, or else it would be funny if you put "Who the fuck is Victor Borg?"
That's true.
That's right.
That'd be funny, but
the similarities between Andrew's son and Ella Fitzgerald.
Yep, there we go.
There you go.
There's just so many. So, Hiram, can you talk to us about growing up in Miami? And there's one thing in particular that's pretty little fascinating tidbit about who you lived across the street from.
Yeah. Miami is a crazy place to grow up. It's a very live fast, live now place. Don't let anybody fool you. I mean, it's very cool. It's a great place to visit. And I love Miami. I love visiting my parents down there, and of course, I grew up there. But certainly playing Euphonium down there was an odd choice. But I was constantly surrounded by Latin jazz. My family's Cuban. I grew up in Miami surrounded by Cubans. Both of my parents are Cuban immigrants. They actually met in Chicago and moved down to Miami when I was 5 years old. So I was actually born in Chicago. I moved down to Miami. But growing up down there was very cool. It feels like a different country sometimes. There's all the signage is in Spanish. There's like Ferraris everywhere for some odd reason. You can have the poorest car at the stoplight. And like, what is even going on? Where do these people live? Oh, it's Colombia and Venezuela. They're just very wealthy immigrants. And I happened to go to an arts high school in South Florida called New World School of the Arts. And that's where I got free lessons from Jay Bertolet, which is amazing. I got 4 years of free lessons from there. And I have to say, when I re-met Sam Palafian was at the 2002 Greensboro Conference. And the thing is, my uncles, Hiram and Rex, lived across the street from Marnie Palafian. Palafian. I used to say Palafian. That's what I grew up hearing.
Yeah, I think a lot of them say Palafian, but Sam said Palafian. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
And I am one of 4 brothers, and we used to go over to Marnie's house because her pool was already built, or she had a pool.
Marnie, by the way, is Sam's sister.
Yes.
Yes.
And we used to go over to her house when we were younger, and that's when I met Sam. 6, 7, 8 years old. Uncle Hiram and Rex bought this house in Coral Gables.
That's so wild.
And he thought we were nuts. So when I re-met him at the ITEC conference, he goes, "You're one of the Diaz kids?"
I love this story.
He couldn't believe it. He thought we were all just going to be crazy and Miamians. We were Miamians through and through. Heavy accents. When I get around my brother, it comes out a lot more. But that Spanglish accent, where half the conversation is in English and half the conversation is in Spanish, and even through sentences. But when I reconnected with Sam there, he was just a wonderful help. Every time he went and visited his parents, his parents' house was maybe 5 or 6 blocks from my house, and he would go there. I think he had to do a lot of moving boxes because they were both lawyers, I believe.
I know his father was.
Yes.
His
father was a lawyer.
Yep.
So he
like
had
a big time lawyer.
Yes. And he had a lot of files to move. So I would go over to his house, and this happened a handful of times. And Sam would teach me a lesson in this beautiful home in Coral Gables. And my only payment to him was that I help him move these boxes around and eat his father's Armenian cooking. So that was the payment. Yeah.
Wow. So what were lessons? I love that story, and I didn't know that story until like super recently. I don't remember, like you told me that. Like I think you just told me that this past Easter, right?
Yes, that's true. Yes,
because I think the rehearsal for Easter this year, it was like it was like a week and a half or something like after he passed away.
Yes.
So and Joe Bergstaller, who we already talked about, knew him quite well, and so it was it was actually quite therapeutic because that was still in the I'm crying every day phase, and playing in a quintet was super therapeutic, and then also just hearing stories was great. But what was it like studying with Sam in his parents' house? Like, what did you guys work on?
We worked on self-confidence issues and ears. You took many lessons with Sam, and the thing that I've always taken away and I try to pass on, and the thing that I find just completely egregious, is knowing tunes or playing songs or playing any song. And since I've become older and more respected as a pedagogue and teach people, I teach lessons to people about competition stuff or excerpts. People mostly come to me to excerpts, and I half the time have to stop the lesson to ask them if they can just play me a song, because they're not playing with this great just sing me a song, play me a song. And oftentimes people from great studios, I'm definitely not going to name names, that would be so bad, can't play me a single song. Right. Any song. Right. Amazing Grace, church hymns, any song. And that's something that I warm-ups, everything. I always try to do the singing approach, especially when I did a couple lessons with Sam at Brevard. He drove that home. That's when, back then in 2002, they were really solidifying the brass gym. You remember that?
Yes.
Right.
I feel like that's about the right time, right? Is that 2002-ish?
Oh, right.
Breathing Gym was recorded, a couple years before that, and that's right around when the brass gym was coming out. Yep.
And that's when they were solidifying all of the brass gym stuff, and he was like, I remember just 1 hour of just like, all right, now we're going to do the Flintstones, and we're going to do it in F, and he did that in my lessons there. And I used to do this thing where I would chip and I would restart and I would chip, and he got rid of that. He was like, no, Sam, he was like, fuck it, put your horn down, stop, and pick your horn back up, and you're going to play awesome this time. Ready? And that was it. I was like, okay, I get it, because you enjoy this, you're going to have a good experience. You don't want to be this. You don't want to pussyfoot the start of notes, and that was Sam. That was great. He also had the freakiest buzzing range that I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to him buzz to warm up. I was like, what is happening from that man's face?
Yeah, Sam was super good at moving the mental goalposts. You know, frequently, rather than addressing the problem head on, he would just change the subject. I don't remember what the context was in the lesson, but I was obviously not super focused, or I was super focused on the wrong thing. But in grad school, and this was like my 500th lesson with the guy, and he'd never done this before and didn't do it since, or didn't do it after. But he said, Hitz, put your horn down. And then he said, the cactus outside, he said, you have 1 minute to run, touch the cactus, sit your ass back down and play it again. And I mean like full blown sprint, including like basically jumping down 2 flights of stairs. It was about 48 seconds at like full tilt. And then I was out of breath, but then I played and then I nailed it. And he goes, there. And that was it.
He was good at getting you out of your own way.
Yeah.
That's a good way of saying that.
Yep. Yeah. That's a great way of saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my relationship with Sam. My Uncle Hiram and Rex. Uncle Rex is Uncle Hiram's partner. That's my namesake is Uncle Hiram. That's my mom's sister. Uncle Rex's brother Todd lived at his parents' house.
Wow.
Yeah.
So intertwined. And so that's I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when he said, you're one of the Diaz kids.
Right. I remember the hallway in 2000. I remember where I was. I remember he it was somewhere in that campus. I remember seeing that because I was with my dad. He was like, hey, Sam, remember? He was like, what are you, what? He had a conniption. It was great.
I wonder if that was pre-captain's log or post-captain's log. Yeah,
tell you.
It might have been within mere hours of the captain's log happening. Like you don't realize how closely you brushed up against history there.
Oh man!
So
there you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. What's your favorite Cuban food?
Ooh, that's a great question. My mom's picadillo, which is a ground beef dish. It's like stewed ground beef in Cuban spices, which would be like cumin, oregano, capers, bay leaves. It sounds very Spanish, like Spain, but it got adopted for Cuban usage. I like that a lot. But Cubans put mojo on everything. You know what mojo is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you can't buy sour oranges in the DC area. I know. I have tried. So
you don't sound bitter at all.
No, I'm not.
You just got a little crazy eyes too there. I like it. It's like this man is pissed. So
right.
What's your favorite Cuban restaurant in Miami? Do you have a single favorite?
No, there's no fit because a lot of places do a lot of different things really well.
Right.
There's this place called Islas Canarias that makes the best croquetas, which is like a breaded ham amazingness.
Yes.
And I don't know how else to say it. But then the other thing is Cubans make pastries amazingly. They all these flaky crusts, pastelitos. They're just that doesn't exist around. So when I fly down to Miami, I have marching orders from my wife to bring a whole, 24 pastelitos home on the plane from the airport. This is like a guava-filled pastry that would remind you of baklava, the flakiness of the crust. Mm-hmm. You know, baklava. Yeah. But the guava, there's like a guava paste, or sometimes they do like sweet cream cheese. This is great. We're talking about food.
It's like, it's almost 4:00. Yeah, we're probably all a little bit hungry. So, does your wife also have a Cuban heritage, or has she just acquired the?
My wife is about as white as it gets. She's German Irish from Eugene, Oregon.
So, I guess you could have said like northern Minnesota, and then maybe that would have been like 0.1% funnier. But other than that, that's pretty funny. So not Cuban. So she's just acquired a taste for this food through you and your family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's the best. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I always eat an obscene amount of Cuban food whenever I go to Miami.
Nice.
Oh, love it.
Typically, I'll send my non-Spanish speaking friends to this place called El Palacio de los Jugos, which is this like outdoor market where people are just kind of shoving past each other. No one speaks English. There's giant tubs of beans and rice. And there's a place where you can get fish, and there's a place where you can get meat, and there's another place where you can get rice, and then you can get a place where you can get juices. And when I do that, people are like, "Why did you send me here? I have no idea how to order. Everybody keeps pushing me."
That's exactly why I sent you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Colonel, I just thought you would enjoy it.
That's right. The food is amazing. Yeah.
So our last guest was John Abbracciamento, who just had his retirement ceremony a few days ago. Do you have any good stories about John?
Not any more than you heard there. He's just been a great colleague and a great mentor and a great spokesman. Just somebody who's you know him very well. He is a guy who will, if you listen to the episode before this, right? Is that what it's going to be?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who's a straight shooter and speaks his mind, and always is quick with his wit. And I've only been able to get him like 2 or 3 times faster than him with a jab, which is amazing. I feel accomplished. Honestly, I do feel accomplished.
I'd love to see him and Lance get comfortable and really get to blows, because they're two of the quickest people I know.
There you go.
Yeah.
What? Go. Wait.
What?
Perfect. Exactly.
I went out to dinner with him after it was the next night along with Joe Alessi and a few other people, and I was sitting in between them, and Joe said, "How did the two of you meet?" And I didn't remember, but then John shared that he and I had a mutual friend. His name was Doug Whitaker, who has since passed away, unfortunately. But that John was, we were sparring about sports, and I then told him that I have still to this day never met anyone who has such thoroughly awful sports opinions as him. I mean, it's like 100% of them are trash.
Yes, you just reminded me of his wild card theory.
What's his wild card theory?
He just thinks it's garbage for baseball. He hates it. That's it. I can't believe you guys didn't go on and on about it.
No, I do remember that. Yeah, the 2004. I don't know if you know this, but the Red Sox, won that World Series, and he said, "Oh, they were wild card, trying to cheapen it." And I told him, how long I needed him to shut up for, and what I needed him to do while he was quiet, and where he could do it, and all the above. So. And still continue to this day. The retirement ceremony was pretty cool, actually. That I'd never been to one of those. Was that a typical one?
That was typical. Very, very typical.
Can you talk about it, actually? Because I thought it was fascinating.
There's an orders read, so we do it in front of an audience, but there's orders read about John's retirement orders, and he'll get a letter from the commandant of the Marine Corps, maybe sometimes even the president submits a letter. Then if the retiring person has a spouse, they will get an award as well. But you march in the colors, so the orders are read in front of the American flag and the Marine Corps flag, and then the colors get marched out, and then we have like a nice Friars Club roast for for like 45 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. People just reminisce about their time in the Marine Band, and overwhelmingly you'll hear from just about everybody just how grateful they are to have served in the Marine Band. 99%, 100% of the time, people are just grateful to have been in the service of the Marine Band. They always talk about this train that keeps going, or this and that, and all the friends and great stories. And typically it's very lighthearted. And then the retiring person gets to conduct a tune, and it's typically a march. And then we play the Marine hymn, and then we have a nice little party out there. And hopefully Phil Frankie's brewing the beer.
Yeah, he brought a lot of beer. What was the march that you guys did? It was like British 8th?
That's right.
I'd never heard it.
Nice,
I really liked it.
You never heard? Oh,
no.
Come on, man. Gosh.
I'm not.
You're so out of your depth.
I'm not. I've never claimed to be a. Well, you guys did the part of the national emblem when you marched out the colors.
That's
so I was
right.
like, hey, I know that one.
That's right. Yeah.
The band sounded great.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Partly because you weren't watching Abbracciamento as he conducted.
That's right. I was just sitting there next to you, enjoying the festivities. It's a crazy thing to be a part of.
So you were telling us before we started about a new group that you have joined. I'd love to hear about that before we get to the end of this here interview.
Yeah, we have decided. My dog is also joining us for the interview here. We have decided through friends. My friend Nathan Miller, who teaches at Asbury University outside of Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
He is lifelong family friends with Mark Ridenour, who is the associate principal trumpet of the Chicago Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark and Nathan and I, Mark had Nathan and I help him put aluminum roofing onto his hay barn in Kentucky. So it's basically payment. It's basically paying him to like, hey man, can we play some trios, please? And so I play euphonium. My friend Nathan Miller plays tenor horn, alto horn, whatever you prefer. And Mark grew up Salvationist, and he plays a lot of cornet. Grew up playing lots and lots of cornet. So we played little trios with that little ensemble. We was like, hey, this seems like a really fun group. This was 2 summers ago. And Mark was like, this is a great group. This would be really fun. This would be a unique thing to do brass quintets, maybe the Ewalds as they were almost originally intended for all conical brass instruments. So he called up his friend Chris Martin, who plays trumpet in the New York Phil. And decent. Yeah, he worked out. It was okay. And I asked Chris Tiedemann, who plays tuba in the Marine Band, and we came together last summer and played at the Great American Brass Band Festival.
Nice.
Individually as soloist and then as a brass quintet. We also had Matt Harding, the principal cornetist of the Marine Band, come and join us for the BAME Sextet.
Nice.
And Matt did the solo.
Jeez, that must have been an incredible performance.
Yes, just an all-star group, just crazy to be a part of it.
Wow.
And that same weekend, we recorded some stuff for a CD that's coming out soon.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You guys do any of the quartet stuff, like the Ramsel quartets or the Anton Simon, any of that stuff from the same period?
I am well aware of that stuff, but we did not put any of that stuff out there. We just wanted to keep this quintet, and we actually had Jim Kernow, the wind band arranger guy, he's written a couple euphonium solos. He wrote a sextet for us of like Appalachian fiddle tunes that were really, really cool.
I was in youth orchestra with Matt Harding.
Nice.
We go way back.
There you go.
I don't even want to think about how old you were. You were not yet 10, I will tell you that. So
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of 10, we want to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba.
Sweet!
Including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Is it that they cost $10?
Oh, absolutely. We're having a flash sale. Yes, a flash sale. Yes, the first. If you go by the end of today, now this isn't going to air for another 10 days, so you'll be too late if you wait until you hear this. But then you can go if you use the offer code Hiram's Dog. Then you can get the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece for only $10. So,
what?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Sweet.
I think we probably should get some advice. Hiram's a pretty learned dude here. Should we ask him about Jens?
Who?
Ooh. What's going on with Jens?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I love that I said, "Do you know Jens Lindemann?" before we started, and you said I texted him yesterday. So the Jens Lindemann, of course, the world-renowned trumpet player and pedagogue, he has been undergoing some chop problems now for a while.
No.
And so if he hasn't answered your text, that's probably why, because he's trying to put his face back together again. So we've asked over 100 guests now on the Brass Junkies what their advice is for Jens in this time of need on just how he could maybe work through these chop problems. So what thoughts do you have, Hiram?
As I look over all of the great lessons I've given, one of the best ones, and the great lessons I've learned,
right?
I have to really honestly think back to my youth, and there's a band with this guy Jack Black, and I think it's called Tenacious D. Have you heard of this band?
Yeah, I saw them many years ago in New York.
Oh, okay, good. Well, on one of their albums, you have to work on, or he talks about working on cock push-ups. And
not where I thought you were going.
And you only need one.
You only need one. That's true.
You only need one. So if Jens could start doing push-ups, he only needs to do one push-up from his face. I think this might change all of pedagogy.
A face push-up.
Face push-up.
I like it.
Face push-up. Yes.
There you go.
The worse the flooring, the stronger he will get. So like a gravel road, blacktop on a 105-degree day.
Maybe you should do it in Banff because the air is a little lighter there. It'd be a little less resistance.
There you go. He could climb a mountain and then do face push-ups.
Who was it? Oh man, who was it that said that he needed to go to a yurt?
Oh yeah, was that
Matt Murchison?
No,
no.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll never remember.
Oh goodness. Well, there you go. So climb. Actually, I think it was Seth Horner, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it was somebody who suggested that he go find a yurt somewhere, which I'd never even heard of. But I like this, a face push-up. That's whatever he's been doing hasn't been working. So
he only needs one. That's the thing.
One.
That does. Yeah, I just read James Clear's Atomic Habits, and he talks all about how you have to have goals that like you can't possibly not succeed at. Like doing a push-up or a sit-up a day, and then you build off of that. So maybe just one face push-up. He's probably been trying to do like 25, which is just not going to happen at his advanced age. So
right. Yep. That's just too much of a hill to climb.
Yes,
just, if you get that first one out.
And to bring it back to Sam Palafian at his memorial service earlier in the month, I saw Jens's wife Jennifer, who absolutely adores this segment. So she's a
Great.
big fan of the Pray for Jens segment of the Brass Junkies, and will occasionally make him listen to just this segment. So which is like
Great.
literally hands him like her phone, just hits play. So which I love. So. Anyway, all right. Anything else for this young man, Lance, before we launch into the bonus episode?
No.
All right. Well, for those of you who would like to hear just a little more of Hiram, and really, who wouldn't? We are going to do the bonus episode with him now. Every single guest does a little bit more with us for the bonus episode, which you can find out for as little as $1 an episode. You can go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, and you instantly get access to bonus episodes with tons of people, including the aforementioned Sam Palafian, John Abbracciamento, lots of different people, and you can also help to support the show. We are now over 100 Patreon patrons, which go us. So, yeah. We actually don't have any expenses. We're just saving up for the next time we go to Miami so that we can eat all of the Cuban food. So
very good. Very good.
No, we have a lot of expenses, and you help make this podcast possible. So thank you to everyone who's done that. And Hiram, thank you for taking out time from. I mean, you're a very important euphonium player, and we really appreciate you carving out an hour for us.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. You guys are great.
And that will do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.